I'm back. I just wanted to jump on here. Today is technically day 8, and I have actually not ticked for a couple of days. And I am grateful for the opportunity to, first of all, have explored what that ticking business was, and ultimately it gave me an opportunity to come back to myself once again. And I think that more often than not, we are presented with a problem, and we can either go down with that problem, or alternatively we can, as an old boss said to me many years ago, dig your heels in and show me what you're worth. And if I'm being completely honest, it was this was a wake-up call that I desperately needed. And I didn't know it at the time, but I desperately needed it. And I had a fair amount of fear behind what was going on, and I didn't really understand it because as a trauma coach, it is something that I work with people all the time, but I'm dealing with potentially more long-standing traumas. And when something like this came up acutely for me, it was a real eye-opener, even just how trauma can show up. And I feel that I have done a huge amount of work on myself and have worked through, I would say, my bigger stuff. That being said, what came out of these ticks was in line with my bigger stuff. So it's really interesting. I have to stress that it was actually stress related. Stress related with also coupling with some emotional turmoil and emotional things that I still had not worked through. I would like to I'm actually just sort of coming back on just to say hi, and that I am feeling a lot better than where I was at. I have actually pulled away from social media for that week, which I did say that I was potentially going to do. I actually turned away from anything that had a screen, because I found that ultimately, is it not smarter to stay away from that sort of stuff? It's firing all those neurons in our brains that probably don't need to be fired on a regular basis. But that always are, aren't they? I also worked through things like, why was it happening, the timing of it, any attached thoughts that were going on, the symptoms, and the felt sense that I was experiencing. And I broke down every single part of this. So it was quite interesting. The feeling of a tick was very similar to the desire to want a cigarette, which is quite strange. But as a smoker of 26 years previously, this was a pretty big eye-opener as well, because it was very quickly linked to anxiety at that point, and also trying to control things that I wasn't in control of. And there was a part of me that almost wanted to reach for a cigarette, thinking that would help it subside. But what I did, which I didn't do, obviously, that's just silly. But what I did do was I actually implemented the same practice that I did when I was trying to quit smoking. And when I quit, it was essentially a cold turkey situation. I know that, and I'm not here to talk about quitting smoking, but I know that when I am trying to quit, that urge that we feel, if you are a smoker or have been, there is an urge that you feel, and if you actually just sort of wait 5 minutes, that urge will go away. It may pop up again, but it'll go away. So you just keep breathing through those processes. Day 1, day 2, day 3, and then from day 3 it starts to get easier, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then at 21 days, you essentially, for idea's sake, you've got through your addiction. It then becomes more of a personal choice not to go ahead, or actually exercising self-control at that point. So with that said, what I did was I actually breathed through each of the ticks. So as I could feel them coming on, I it wasn't 100% foolproof or anything like that, but I was breathing through each of those moments because I knew as well that the longer I ticked, the more I would want to tick, because I was already finding that my brain was playing games. If I went to say the word stutter, which I do believe was in a video, if I went to say the word stutter, I would in fact stutter on the word. If I said anything about having a tick, I would tick repeatedly. It was quite an interesting thing. What I did change though, and this is sort of why I wanted to jump on, is that I took that situation, which was embedded with a bit of fear, and I went, right, what is the first thing that I can do here to change? And I looked at my sleeping patterns and my eating patterns first of all. My sleeping patterns had not been great, and my eating patterns again weren't great because I eat on the fly a little bit, and generally I would say that my main eating was actually a dinner of a nighttime sort of thing, which, as a personal trainer of nearly 13 years now, I know that that's not ideal. However, we all have different ways to navigate our body, and that was I was sort of in a bit of a rut, in fairness, and I didn't even realize that I was in this rut. But changing my diet did help with how I was sort of feeling and how I was processing just that sort of sluggish body feeling kind of thing, because the ticks were making me tired, or I was tired and then I was getting the ticks. It was sort of all intertwined, I suppose. So sleep became primary thing that I needed to change. I was probably only getting on average between 6 and 7 hours a night, and I am now getting between probably 9.5 and 11.5, if I'm being completely honest. On average, for the last few days, I'm sleeping probably 10 hours a night, which feels amazing. Like I can honestly say that I'm feeling the benefits of just having some really good night's sleep. Reducing my stress, so no is a full sentence, yay. So when I was asked to do some extra things, I actually looked at and valued my own time in that, and I knew that my body needed to rest, so I actually chose the rest over overexerting myself, and I feel that that was a bold decision that actually did change, definitely changed the way that I was operating that week, because I have a couple of different jobs, and so turning work down means turning money down, but I have to put my health as paramount over anything else. So I did that, and when it's all said and done, a week is a flash in the pan, so it was worth it. So I looked at my workload. Anything that led me into a subconscious mind or thinking, so driving was one of them, vacuuming the house, cleaning, anything that was sort of like somewhat methodical was causing me to tick. So I didn't stop doing those things. What I did do is I created an awareness, and I think I did say in an early video that my son had actually said to me, wouldn't it be interesting if the universe was actually just trying to make you a lot more present? And I said it at the time, and I will say it again, it was actually the one thing that I probably got the most benefit from, and it was just remaining present throughout the whole thing, and the more that I could remain present, the less I would tick. I also worked through who I was attached to and who I was releasing, so what energies were surrounding me. I looked at what sorts of things made the ticks neutralize and what sorts of things ramped it up. So I just became so conscious of my own body and the way that I was moving through life for that last week. I had to return to my breath work, obviously sleeping patterns and exercising first thing in the morning. I took out all stimulants, so I actually had a coffee for the very first time in 8 days today, just to see, and it was absolutely fine, whereas coffee was making me tick before. Obviously it was creating that adrenaline sort of thing. So I steered away from all stimulants. And the other thing that I did was I went back into my shamanic practice. So I had also, I'd ultimately I had been doing that, but because I had sort of got myself into this emotional rut and this stress rut and all the rest of it, all the things that sort of made me feel balanced had gone by the wayside very quickly. And it was almost an accident, I suppose, but incidentally, it's probably what needed to happen, because as we have these experiences, we sort of shut down, and then we re-emerge, and we re-emerge with a new level of understanding and a new level of growth. And for every time that this has happened in my life, I come back with a new understanding, a new level of growth, a new sense of self. And ultimately, that's exactly what's happened here. So it was a pretty average time, because I did have a genuine fear around what was going on, because I was hoping that I was going to be able to fix it, but I genuinely didn't know. I didn't have the answer to that. So I have to sit here now and, first of all, without being a total twat, give myself a bit of a pat on the back, because the process that I used was something that I call radical self-healing. And it is a system that I have created that works 100% for me. It may or may not work for other people. However, it comes down to working through what are the things in your toolbox that work specifically for you. And you may have 2 or 3 things in your toolbox that you would use from a list of 150 different things that you could be using. And I have a list sitting in front of me now, and I can see already that there's about 12 or 14 things written on the whiteboard just there, and I use maybe 4 of them, but I use 4 of them quite religiously. And religiously, I mean continuously, often. So I did return back to my shamanic healing and my shamanic practices, because I know how centering they are. And whilst I had been doing them, I feel like I was almost going through the motions with them, as opposed to really embodying them and coming at them from the intention that I should have been coming at them from. So I changed my intention, and I changed the way that I was approaching my healing, I suppose, when it's all said and done. And I am actually going to put this out there. If there is anybody out there that is dealing with some weird kind of stress thing, please reach out, because I have a feeling that I have a system that might work for you. And I'm almost intrigued to find out whether or not this radical self-healing would actually work for somebody else. And I know that it will, but I guess just, if somebody can put their hand up and be a guinea pig, that would be amazing, because I truly believe in the system that I created for myself. And go figure, that's one of the biggest things that I learned from this. I also ended up with a really amazing business idea, which takes me completely, not completely, but it takes me a little bit away from where I am at the moment. However, it's a beautiful idea and a beautiful goal that I hope to be able to bring to fruition in the next little while. So I can honestly say that what has come of this entire situation has been a bit of a blessing in disguise. So thank you to those that did reach out and support me again on my little healing journey. And I'm trying to show up and be as authentic as I can be, because we're all humans. We're all just trying to work this out. And I have sort of gone through a lot of trauma healing within myself. And whilst I don't want to sit in a trauma space, because I don't sit in trauma in order to be for want of a better term, play the victim. It is not about that at all. It's actually about recognizing that these things aren't actually mine to hold on to, and they've affected my nervous system to the degree that it is showing up as a physiological problem. And in order to work through that, I need to dive into here first of all, and come from here down into here and make that journey from head to heart to actually find that congruence within, and basically find the acceptance and the understanding and the love for myself in all of this. So it's been a journey, and I'm sure that it will continue, but we are back on track now, and I hope to be able to bring you some more content. I actually would like to share some of the toolbox ideas with you, because I think that healing can be done by anyone at any time. You don't need to pay ridiculous amounts of money and go and speak to some shaman that thinks they're a guru. That's cool if you want to do that, but I genuinely know that healing is within us. You just need perhaps a couple of keys to a couple of doors in order to set you on your way. So much love to everybody, and thank you again for your love and support, kind words, and sharing of energy. So thank you very much. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.